Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154. And today we welcome back General-Hans-Krebs to the channel, and he's in the tier 10 German heavy tank, the E100. A lot of conversation can be had about which is the better of the two German tanks, the Maus and the E100. I took the decision, rightly or wrongly, to go down the path of the Maus, and just when I see the sort of game that General-Hans-Krebs can have at top tiered with the E100, I am inclined to think I made the wrong decision. And this is mostly down to the fact that the E100 is just a much more durable vehicle. Although frontally it does look a lot boxier, I mean, you still have an upper frontal plate here that's over 350 millimeters. The turret facing, even without any angling at all, is still around the 315, 320 millimeter mark. And if you angle the turret like so, with this sort of angle of incidence, you're still attracting 350 plus millimeters of effective armor. Really, the only weak spot that, well, there's two weak spots that the enemy has left to target you. That is the lower frontal plate, pretty common of most vehicles, particularly German vehicles, and this bar at the top, which is penetrable frontally with 240 millimeters of penetration. But certainly your enemies are going to be working really hard to try to get through the front of this tank. The gun itself performs quite well. It's 150 millimeter main armament. It deals 750 hit points per shot. The standard stuff penetrates for 246 millimeters. That's identical to the Maus, but you get a heat shell that can penetrate up to 334 millimeters of armor. This is slightly better than the 311 millimeters of penetration that you get with the 12.8 centimeter gun on the Maus. DPM of the vehicles is roughly equal, and although the E100 is a little bit derpier, I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that you're putting less shots on target, therefore you're exposing yourself less to take those shots, particularly in pubby matches where it tends to be a case of you expose, you poke, you fire, then you retreat. A Maus has got to do that sort of 50% more often than an E100, and does so, I would argue, with a slightly inferior armor profile as well. Now, General-Hans-Krebs making a very solid entry into the game here with a ammo wrecking kill on the BZ-55. Now they haven't messed around here. They've come to the fight with 25 heat shells available, and that's what we're loaded. Another meaty hit into the back of the turret of the Kranvan for 780 hit points. Slight high roll there. We're certainly not complaining. So the enemy Kranvan has poked out, put a shot into General-Hans-Krebs. Also mindful of this T110E3. Now, in this case, moving around to engage the T110E3 is probably the better option. This way the general can hopefully poke and bait shot from just one target at a time, whereas the other area they might poke and they might bait one shot, and there's still another enemy tank with a shell in the tube. But pulling back and going dark there has meant that General-Hans-Krebs has been able to get the drop on this Object 430U, knocking it out, sending it back to the garage. As far as the Object 430U is concerned, General-Hans-Krebs just popped out from nowhere. Presumably the enemy are going to be slightly more cautious about them. But there's a group of three there ready to push. They are working the angle, side scraping their way through, so Krebs might not find the best armor facing on the enemy. They've lost a lot of their vehicles in the city, actually. A few of them pushed pushed forward and had sort of been annihilated by what was that was coming through the middle of this cluster of vehicles. Artillery knocking on the roof, saying hi. This T110E3 is still hanging around, and a couple of vehicles in the back that are moving in. A bit of a love tap to the T95 FV4201 to just try to get out of the firing line there. He is genuinely trying to help him. T110E3 now one-shottable for the General, but there's a bit of a target-rich environment developing here. We have a shell in the tube ready to go, and we shut down the T110E3. That was one vehicle that was likely to present quite a threat here. Notice how General-Hans-Krebs is angling the armour here to deflect shots from the Kranvan. Now, it should have depleted its mag at this point in time, but no point rushing out to poke that because there was 277 in the way. Not anymore. 60 TP pulling in behind, so General-Hans-Krebs rotates to provide a better armour facing. And look at that, you've got the heat shells of the 60 TP, quite a high penetrating shell, quite a high alpha shell as well. Unfortunately, General-Hans-Krebs ends up bouncing the 60 TP as well. Again, look at this angling against the Kranvan. The Kranvan gets 300 millimeters of penetration on its heat shells, and it was just doing nothing to the angled turret of the E100. This is smart use of positioning here. Effectively, General-Hans-Krebs has got the 60 TP and the Kranvan and the IS-7 all sort of locked down. It's they're not going anywhere. They're not further influencing the battle. Kranvan ends up pulling out into the line of sight of a friendly Kranvan. Now it was one-shottable and has been knocked out. So there's a distinct numerical advantage available here to General-Hans-Krebs. Their enemy is outnumbered 2 to 1. They have the advantage of securing their cap circle, and these vehicles are well and truly bottled up. The WZ-111-5A tries to make a flanking move, but it doesn't quite come off. The Kranvan moves in to engage the 60 TP. This is an opportunity for Hans-Krebs to bring in the killing shot, knocks out the 60 TP, and the IS-7 makes their move, charging down the Kranvan. It's one of the best things you can do if you're outnumbered or in a crossfire, is just pick a line and try to push your way out of it. Unfortunately, they've, I guess, in their determination to hunt down the Kranvan, they've ended up in a situation where they're now in a crossfire between General-Hans-Krebs and the Kranvan. The Kranvan just waiting to reload its magazine. General-Hans-Krebs landing a nice meaty hit into the turret. IS-7's now one-shottable, potentially one-shottable for the Kranvan, but it's sent back to the garage by the T110E5. 2 enemy tanks left in the game, 6 on General-Hans-Krebs' team. Now there was one, just the T110E5 at this point in time. General-Hans-Krebs just taken the top gun medal by shutting down the IS-7. The T110E5 has absolutely no chance, caught in a vicious crossfire between the remaining tanks, and that is game. Let's go and take a look at the results. And there you have it, folks. Ace mastery in the Tier 10 German heavy tank E100 by General-Hans-Krebs of the Vicious Hawks clan. We've picked up an absolute fistful of these epic and battle heroes medals. A steel wall for receiving the most hits out of anyone on the team and still surviving at the end of the battle. It picked up the Top Gun medal for accounting for at least 6 kills on the enemy, and the High Caliber medal for accounting for at least 20% of the total hit point pool of enemy vehicles. There's a series of these badges of merit as well. Shellproof, where total damage blocked has exceeded the hit points of the vehicle, with nearly 4,700 hit points of damage blocked. That was just really efficient use of armor that we saw there. Very smart angling of the turret and utilization of those armored plates we discussed earlier in the replay. The Fire for Effect medal just goes hand in hand with the High Caliber medal, and of course Demolition Expert for destroying at least one enemy vehicle by causing an ammo rack, and that was quite memorably General-Hans-Krebs' first shot of the game. Having a look at the team scores, we have a well-deserved top placement by experience. In fact, 40% more XP taken than the next vehicle, which was the Object 430U. There was a valiant defense of the cap area by the enemy Super Conqueror, but unfortunately that could not quite carry hard enough this particular game. Having a look at the detailed report, this turned into quite a profitable game for General-Hans-Krebs with over 90,000 credits picked up. Now, for context, we did have a couple of boosters running, so 72,000 credits from battle payments and personal missions. So you're still ending up with a net profit of 20,000 credits. Now, this is largely owing to the amount of gold fired. We've got 11 shots fired. If my maths is correct, that's 6,000 gold per shot. But here's the thing: we've penetrated with all but one of those shots, and I guess that's what 334 millimeters of penetration will do is give you confidence of penetration, and that'll start rewarding you back with credits and experience. So properly tuned, it has a strong tendency to pay for itself, but it's conditional on your hitting, and it's conditional on your penetrating as well. So very nicely done there by General-Hans-Krebs of the Vicious Hawks clan. And if you've got a replay that you'd like to share with the community, please reach out over Discord or any of the links below. I've got the general guidelines for community submissions in the About section of the YouTube channel, so please check that out before you flick it my way. In the meantime, take care out there.